Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about all of the resources and all of the plans I have to teach science to my kids this month. So if you're interested in that, and if you are, would you like all the links and everything, you can find them in the description. I'm just going to kind of go over the basic subjects and the questions and the format of what I'm doing here so that you can kind of see, or even if you just want to have new ideas to sort of add to what you're doing. But this month we are doing oceans. That's what we are going to be studying. So week number 1, the curiosity question is, the sun is what makes the ocean blue. So how does that work? What is it about the sun that's making the ocean blue? Also, the water pressure in the Mariana Trench would crush you if you went down there. Why doesn't it crush the animals who live there? I really think my kids are going to have some good ideas about that because we've studied that quite a bit, that they've seen what's down deep and what kind of bodies they have, but we'll see. I don't know. If you want a book for this, and I think you should have a book for this, but just go look in your library or look around your house, find a book about ocean animals. That's what this is about. Any book will be fine for that. I have a video, the layers on the ocean, in the ocean, which is really fascinating because the different creatures live at different layers of the ocean, and they also look different. The light that's filtering through and the food that is down in each of the layers is different. And this video does a really excellent job of explaining all of that. And then the activity that we're going to be doing is just making an ocean in a jar. So basically you take different densities of liquids and you dye them different colors so that by the time you're done, you have a jar that has really like black on the bottom and then lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter until it's just clear on the top. And you can see the different layers and not only what kind of sunlight gets through, but you can kind of have an idea of what lives down there and why the eyes of the creatures on the very bottom are going to be different than the eyes of the creatures on the top. So that's the activity that we're doing for that one. Okay, moving on to week number 2. And let me just say, I know these videos are super dense and they just have tons of information I'm throwing at you. You shouldn't have, like, it's not going to look like this when you do the actual class. When you're sharing this with your kids, when I'm doing this with my kids, it's going to take an hour for each one of these. And we're going to do it in just one block. We just do it one time each week, but you can break it up different if you want to. I'm just saying, I'm throwing it all at you so that you will have resources to use, and you're really a hero for getting through this because it's really, really dense. But here goes. Okay, curiosity question for week number 2. Christopher Columbus would never have found America if he had tried to sail straight across because curving is actually much faster. Why would taking a longer distance be faster? Now, the answer to this is actually the ocean currents, that a lot of the people who had tried to make it across to America weren't able to because they ran into the cross currents and they weren't working with them. And because Spain was the one who funded his trip to America, what happened was they had this island down over here, and so he kind of got down to that island before he took off and started going to America, which was absolutely pivotal in his ability to make it to America, because once he got down there, he was able to catch the current, which then sent him like that and got him to America. Everybody else kept running into it instead of working with it, they were working against it. And that was one of the reasons they were having such a hard time getting all the way across the ocean. And he got in that ocean current. And to my knowledge, he understood ocean currents, but they didn't know where all of them were. They didn't even know where the land masses were. They didn't know all of the details. They just knew that they existed and they would want to be using those, hopefully usefully. He happened to be the one who got there, and it was the most useful for him. So that's the answer to that question. The book that I'm using for this and for a lot of the weeks is not one that I own, but it's How Everything Works from Brain Cells to Black Holes. This is a library book that I've got here, and it was just a wonder book. It was a book that one of my kids picked up and thought, oh, I really wonder about that kind of stuff. That's fascinating. And as they were looking through it, I started looking through it and I thought, that is a really cool book. So I don't know if I'm going to end up buying this or just borrowing it for many, many months. I don't know, but we are using it a lot for the science this year, and it goes into way more than just the natural science, which is what we're looking at. They spend a lot of time on technology and other cool stuff, but that's what I'm using it for. So I'm going to use that book, pages 244 to 245. I'm going to show my kids a video. Now, this, you may not love this. It's not violent or anything like that, but it is a video of some divers who get caught in a current under the ocean. And you know, they're diving, they've got all their gear on, they're okay, but they get caught and it just starts throwing them down and out to the ocean. I have talked to my kids about rip currents a lot because we live by the ocean and they don't necessarily know what it means other than mom doesn't like it and we shouldn't do it, right? It's bad, whatever it is, but they don't really know what it looks like. And so I did choose this to say this is kind of what it looks like. And if you don't have the gear on, it can be very scary. Toward the end of this, it's only like a 30-second clip, but toward the end you see that they duck and cover, that they get down behind something so that the current can no longer rip them and pull them out to the ocean anymore. So it's a fascinating way to see that in the ocean, there's a lot of stuff going on that you can't always see. And that's what we're talking about this week anyway, is ocean currents. In addition, I've got a video here about Finding Nemo, and it's the part where he's got the sea turtle and how he's like, I need the East Australian current. He's like, dude, you're right in it. And so it's a hilarious little clip, but it's also a great visual so that they make it so you can see it, which you can't in real life, but I don't think, but it's a really great video that it's interesting, it's a cartoon, it's fun, and you can also see how a current works and how it makes you go really fast to get you from one place to the other. So when when animals are migrating in the ocean, they're going to want to use those currents. We're also going to do an activity, which is making currents in a pan, which essentially you're going to have cold water and dye it blue and hot water and dye it red, and you fill the big pan. You fill that with the cold water and then you pour the hot water in, and you'll see it starts to swirl, which is what happens that creates all of the currents, is that you've got some that are swirling up here and some that's swirling this way, and it creates currents inside the ocean. So that will enable them to really get a good look on how currents actually work temperature-wise, how they're creating currents. Okay, week number 3, we're going to be talking about the water cycle. And this, the curiosity question is, the water you drink today has been drunk by at least 10 people before. Isn't that exciting? Where did the water come from? Let them ponder on that for a minute. And then I'm going to be using this book again, How Everything Works. It's got water cycle information in here. Also, when my oldest was in 4th grade, he went to school and they were learning about the water cycle, and they learned this song, the Water Cycle Boogie, and he sang it for a year at least. It was so impactful for him. He picked up so much. I don't know that he really picked up the knowledge of what all the words meant, but man, he learned that song. So we're going to have that as one of our videos. It's the Water Cycle Boogie. And also there's another video on the Earth's water cycle, how it works, where it is, what it does. And I will say one of the most fascinating bits of information that I've picked up over the years about the water cycle is that it is key in maintaining the Earth's temperature, because the Earth is not the same temperature everywhere. You know that at the tropics it's going to be hotter. Well, part of how the Earth maintains its temperature in all the different places is that it evaporates that water and then moves it somewhere else and condenses it and rains over there. So it's able to take that heat from the tropics and move it up and drop it somewhere else. And that, I mean, obviously it's doing that with the water, but it's also with the energy, endothermic to suck the water up, and then exothermic to rain it down. So it's actually taking energy and heat and not just water as it runs that process. So that's one of the really important ways that the Earth is able to maintain its temperature in lots of different places, and that we're able to live in lots of different places on the Earth because it's not scorching at the equator and freezing everywhere else. And that's because of the water cycle. I didn't know that before. I think that's pretty cool. And then the activity that we're going to do is make a water cycle in the bowl, which is, you've probably seen this before. You put, I don't remember, I think it's hot water on the bottom layer, and then put saran wrap and stick some ice on it, and then you watch as it condenses the water and it drips down. So you're able to see it sort of rain inside the bowl. So you want to have clear bowls to make that work. And the link will be down in the description. And for the last week, we're actually focusing on sea turtles, because I think sea turtles are really cool. And we have an aquarium here who focuses a lot on sea turtles. So if we can actually get to the aquarium for our field trip that month, that's going to be really helpful. So the curiosity question is, what animal that breathes air but lives underwater can hold their breath for 2 hours? In fact, they sleep while they're holding their breath, which is really impressive. So maybe you could twist that as well to say what animal can hold their breath while they're sleeping for 2 hours, however you want to say that. And then I just ask my kids, how long can you hold their breath? We'll see how long that lasts. I've got a book called The Turtle Tide, The Way of Sea Turtles. I've got a link here, but any book that you can find on sea turtles would be awesome to to bring that into this. A video that's just on sea turtles. It does have a lot in there about mating. This does not bother me, but if it bothers you, then just be aware that's happening. The way that sea turtles are able to be babies and find where they need to get without any instruction from their parents is that they use magnetism. And so we're going to be doing an activity where you're trying to navigate using magnetism. Basically what you do is you have a box that you put upside down, so the flat parts there, and on the underside you have taped several different magnets. You have a turtle that has a screw or a nut or a bolt or something in it, so it's got metal, and then a string up onto a skewer, so you've got basically a fishing pole. And then you bring that down to the different areas on the cardboard that just look like cardboard, and it will get attracted to the different magnetic places. And so you can sort of draw a circle around those places so that you know, and you're able to get your turtle all the way through, getting it where it needs to be, using that magnetism to teach it where to be and where not to be. That's just the activity that we're going to be doing there. I hope that turns out well. I've got to find magnets. They suggest that you get magnets that have varying degrees of intensity, and I just think if I can find any magnets at all, it will be just super awesome. So we'll see how that turns out. That is it for those 4 weeks of science. I hope that you have a wonderful time doing science with your kids this month, however you choose to do it. And you are doing really, really important things. As a mom and as a dad, what you're doing really matters, and you're doing a much better job than you think you are. Keep it up, and I'll see you on the next one.